Thank you, PJ. It is time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gaard from The Fan. We've got Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com. And when he's done texting his birthday buddy, Mike Grimm, it's Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune, who told us 4 seconds ago it was his birthday. So that's where we have to start it. I don't have my planner down here, Chip. I wrote it all down. Chip Scoggins' birthday, October 28th. You share it with the voice of the Gophers, Mike Grimm. Happy birthday, Chip. Thanks for spending it with the Pair and a Spare podcast crew.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Grimmer and I share a birthday, and we always text each other happy birthday. And he's a year older than I am. So,
how many candles are we blowing out tonight?
For me, 54, and for Grimmer, he's the double nickel.
Yeah, 55 and 54. Wow! Congratulations! Congratulations! Burnsy, anything you want to add?
I just want to know if Grimm stayed up all 18 innings last night, because I know he's the baseball snob with me.
Yeah.
That was a long World Series game.
Did you watch it?
Grimm's sleep schedule is absolutely cursed.
Yep.
So I'm going to almost assume that he may have taken a nap in the 11th inning, woken up in the 14th, and now here he is.
He just texted me back, so he's awake.
Yeah, he also had to be up early to make his weekly appearance on the Power Trip Morning Show. Well, not up early because he's always up early, but today he was joining the Power Trip Morning Show to discuss the movie line gone viral. I'm not sure if you guys caught it on Saturday.
I didn't realize that's a thing that he does.
That's because you never listened to us, Chip. It's so disappointing.
Power Trip, that's early for me. That's early for me.
Even the Gopher football broadcast, you're always listening to Paul Feinbaum or something. Yeah, they've been doing that 4 or 5 years now, where he gets a line, and now a lot of other people have done this. He's not the first person to do it, and he's also not the last. I know Jason Benetti has been doing it on Tigers TV broadcasts, where the players give him words that he has to slide into his broadcast. The Power Trip takes it a little bit longer. It used to be just like one little phrase. Now it's like full-on monologues sometimes. That every week
that was a long one.
Yeah, the voice of the Gophers, Mike Grimm, goes in, and the connection is always somebody related to the team or the state that they're playing. So in this case, it was Gene Wilder went to the University of Iowa. It was a Blazing Saddles line, and if you just heard it out of context, which a lot of people did, and didn't have the next level of higher order thinking to go, that's kind of a weird thing to say on a broadcast. You were offended. You were offended because you didn't know it was a bit. I'm told that some Iowa Facebook pages or people in Iowa on Facebook took offense to it, and lots of emails and letters have been sent. As I told somebody, Iowa and Facebook, not a great combination. Iowa and Facebook, not a great combination.
This is from an announcer who's from Iowa.
Oh, yeah. He grew up in Manchester, Iowa, West Delaware High, stand up for sure. And I never know the line. I rarely know the line. And
can you spot it right away, though?
Oh, yeah, because it's always so ridiculous.
So out of left field.
Yes, so out of context. But that was a fun weekend. I drove back with my parents on Saturday because they were down at the game. My dad was with his brother, and we've got a ton of family in Iowa, so they were kind of visiting all of them. So I drove back with them, and my mom listened to that. I made her pull it up probably 7 times. Like, as you're just kind of getting tired, it's like 11 o'clock. Burns, you had to make the drive. I'm like, Mom, play the Grimm line again. I'm getting tired. I need a 10-second shot of adrenaline here. So it was pretty funny. Yeah,
that's classic. That's great.
So,
Grimmer.
And we'll see.
If you were able to show up on Wednesdays, that's half of what we do while we wait for coordinators and players is play what is Mike Grimm going to say today, and what is Mike Grimm's line of the week that he has to try and figure out when he interjects it, and that's where we give feedback to him.
Yeah, well, how'd you feel about the morons? What was the feedback last week? Did you know that was going to be the line?
Yeah,
from Blazing Saddles, for people that have no idea what we're talking about. Simple farmers, people of the land, the clay of the West.
That's just so great.
So ridiculous. And then
morons.
Ends it with morons. And then those two jackasses have the temerity to throw it to me after they're laughing in the booth like I'm supposed to take it. Like, okay, that's great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. 41-3, whatever the score is at that point.
What do you want me to add from the sidelines?
Exactly. I've already done that in Columbus. I don't have anything down here, guys. Nothing's happened in 2 hours. Back up to you. But after all of that, simple farmers, morons, he throws it down to me to pick up the pieces, which I tried my best.
The best is he's just so deadpan about it, just like he's reading off a piece of paper.
So good.
So
good. But when you're losing 41-3 in a rivalry game and you're losing to Iowa for the 20th time in 27 years, you got to find a way to entertain yourself, right? And that's what we did for that brief moment. That's what we did for the first 5 minutes of the podcast. And here we are, Burnsy. We talked last week about PJ Fleck owning Nebraska, no matter who the coach is. What would we say about Kirk Ferentz? If PJ owns Nebraska, who is the only, in the last 6 years, no matter who the coach is, what do we say about Kirk, who, since, if you want to even broaden it out, he lost his first two, 99 and 2000. He's 20-5 against the University of Minnesota. That includes Glenn Mason. That includes Jerry Kill, the 1 year of Tracy Claeys, and, of course, the current head coach, PJ Fleck. I think, is understating it, how Kirk Ferentz has handled this rivalry. What do we think?
I can't remember a time. It's been probably 15, 20 years since I saw something happen like that to Minnesota, where you're down 31-0, 20 minutes into the game, 30 minutes of real time. I wrote about afterwards, it reminded me of how Texas Tech came back in the 06 Insight Bowl and rolled off 31 straight to end the game to force overtime. They just didn't get off the bus. Offense, defense, special teams. But yeah, I think, Chip, the only way to say it is Kirk Ferentz is big brother in Minnesota under PJ Fleck and many other coaches, to Gaard's stat. They can't get off the schneid.
What was his line? We'll leave the timeouts and take the trophy. I think that's
leave the timeouts and take Floyd with us. Yeah,
that should be the headline of the Kirk Ferentz year. We'll leave the timeouts and take Floyd with us. Yeah, because there've been, I go back to 2019. That game, you have a chance to maybe win the West and have a really special season. And you lose there. I go back to 2003. They go down there with Maroney, Barber, Tepe, and that Iowa team had Bob Sanders, Greenway. Was Banks the quarterback that Banks, year?
No, he would have been 2002.
Was that Tate? I can't remember who the quarterback was, but that defense, it was Bob Sanders and Greenway, and I remember Bob Sanders hitting Abdul Hodge. I remember Bob Sanders hitting, had a goal line tackle, kept Marion out of the end zone. I mean, no matter the circumstances, they just always play better. They have an answer. That game Saturday, I've covered, in my 22 years of covering Gopher football, I've seen a lot of weird, kind of just a lot of things. That was an all-timer in my time in terms of just how fast it unraveled. And I dare you to find another football game in the history of football where one team has 31 points and the other team has 1 yard.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never see that again, ever. I mean, it's almost impossible to have one team have 31 points and one team have 1 yard. That was as non-competitive as I've ever seen a game.
And it was
bring it to the broadcast real quick, Burnsy. Back to the broadcast. Iowa goes down and scores 7-0, right? Nice drive, couple of third downs. Gronowski with his legs. Shocker, inside the 5 that he's going to keep it and run. Gophers go 3 and out. They get a field goal. As we're coming back, Grimm says, this is kind of a sneaky drive here for the Gophers. You can't afford a 3 and out here. You got to get something going. No 3 and out, first play, pick 6. Well, they didn't go 3 and out. They went 1 out, and now it's 17-0. And that was the ball game, right? The pick 6. I know we can talk about the punt return and the long, deep shot that Gronowski threw that John Nestor was right there for and just missed the ball. But that was when the game was over, right? The pick 6. And that was how many minutes into the game, Burnsy? 7? Yep. I mean, I don't have the play-by-play. But I think get off the bus is a great analogy and a great way to describe it. A week after looking as prepared, as eager, as motivated, as ready to go for a situation, it was 180 degrees different 8 days later.
This is the most hot and cold team, I think, in my 15 years of doing this. I mean, you look at Chip, do you know what it is? I've talked about it this week. what their road game disparity is. They're 0-3, but do you know how much they've been outscored by in games against Cal, Iowa, and Ohio State on the road?
I would say 1 million. I mean,
Essentially.
two of them are really lopsided, and one was the Cal game was what, a 10-point, 13-point? What was that deficit?
Well, I can't tell you. What do you think?
Well, let's see. 41-3. What's that? 38, 80 points, 85.
They've been outscored 110-20 on the road. That's 90 points. I mean, they are just woefully. They just do not travel. Offense, defense, special teams, coaching. To me, the crux of this thing is their offensive and defensive lines are playing horrifically on the road.
Yeah.
Like Iowa, we talked about coming into this one how Phil Parker had been more aggressive. Well, he didn't have to be because he's getting home with 4-man pressures. I'm watching them run Minnesota's offense run I formation, okay, where you're trying to get downhill with fullback. It's 6-on-6 in the box, yet your right guard and right tackle, by the time Femi Ijiboy gets the ball, are blown back 4 yards. The defense allows 17 points on the first 3 drives, and there's gaping holes for them to run through. Tim Lester, the Iowa offensive coordinator, is just throwing misdirection at this team. And Iowa should have scored in 4 plays if Gronowski can hit a downfield throw consistently. And there's a guy wide open in the end zone there.
That's the funny thing. I still don't think he can throw.
No,
no. This guy's doing this and he can't throw. It's crazy.
His accuracy, like the Leitner comparison is pretty good after watching him. And I mean, it's like they're all over the place. But, to me, those first 2 drives where Iowa had the ball, and they're getting such push, that line. I mean, the running backs are just – it's just big chunk plays. And the Gophers' defensive line just is getting blown back. And they scored 10 points. And to me, when you have a freshman quarterback, I thought Drake, at that point, he's like not panicky, but he's like, I got to do something. We're down 10-0. Doesn't see the safety fall off the tight end there and on the wheel route. And at that point, you're right, the game's over. But it's like, of all the scenarios, with Drake Lindsay going in, a freshman playing in that environment, you could not fall behind 10-0 because then he's going to press, right, and think he has to do something special.
Oh,
and he threw a pass where he shouldn't have thrown it, and all of a sudden, game's over. The special teams were an absolute disaster. The punting.
That was my favorite part of the press conference yesterday, Chip. We asked him, Fleck, that is, what was the plan with Wheat Gen? And he said the plan was to kick every ball out of bounds. And I'm thinking once. The first punt of the game.
Not on purpose. The one that they kicked out of bounds, I don't think was the plan, to shank it off your foot and have it go 42 yards into the
first punt of the game is a 48-yard low liner right down the center of the field.
Yeah.
You have another one where it goes 15, you rose up in a Kinnick. And by the way, thank God it does, because if he hits that clean, the guy who Derek LeCaptain is blocking, he blocks that easily, and it's probably a scoop and score. And then I haven't seen a 36-yard punt return for a touchdown in a while, but there we go. Yeah. I mean, Drake had his freshman game. We'd been waiting for it, but that, to me, being down 31-0, it was the offense, the defense, the special teams. It was all of it. They didn't travel, and that was with an extra day to prepare for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what this team is and why they're so good at home. And by so good at home, they're okay to good at home. Like, they have started slow and they've been able to overcome it in Big Ten play where they've been a second half team, but they have just been so horrific on the road all year. Because you got a young quarterback, you have just inexperience at spots, but their inability to fix this problem is gonna, I mean, you still have to travel to Eugene in a couple of weeks. Plus, my suggestion to them would be for the Wrigley Field game, we call that a neutral site game. Okay, I know it's in the city confines, but it's not Evanston. I think it's a little further south than that. I'm probably wrong in my geography there, so I apologize for the Chicago listeners. But it can't be any worse than the way you've played. It just can't be. And I don't know what to think. And I asked Fleck after the game about it, is you're down 31-0 20 minutes in. What happened? He's just like, if I knew this was coming, because that's also one of the questions we asked him was, if I knew this was coming, did I feel like it was coming? No, but then it happened. I don't know. I don't even know how you analyze anything from within.
I
that
agree.
outfit.
It's hard to analyze because it was so fast and just so instant.
It was everything. Every single thing.
That's it. I mean, how often in a game do you throw a pick six and have a punt return for a touchdown? I mean, that
before halftime.
Before halftime, after you've given up 10 points already. I mean, that's how a game just completely goes sideways. And I mean, you're right. It happens so fast. But when you throw a pick six and you have a punt return, it's going to get skewed. But I mean, you talked about the home and away. It was like, let's be honest, they're not exactly playing heavyweights at home. I mean, beating Purdue and Rutgers barely is no great accomplishment. I mean, they barely won those games. So it's not like they're, it's not like they're beating quality teams at home. Nebraska, we can debate what they are. They're an average. This is what the Gophers are. They're an average team
Which is what they were supposed to be coming into the year. They had a win total of 6.5. And guess what? Even within this, if they can take care of business at home against 2 0-5 in the Big Ten teams and Michigan State this weekend and the Wisconsin end, you'll get 7 wins. Plus, I still think that Northwestern game, if Minnesota elects to show up away from Dinkytown, is very winnable because Northwestern's the same as they ever were.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I saw the Drake Lindsay implosion coming.
That's where I wanted to go. There's not a ton to analyze. You're right. I mean, because when you throw a pick six and the punt return, and I do want to talk about the kicking thing because I'm glad you guys, because I was going to ask him about that on Tuesday. I'm still going to at the coaches show about how the first kick I set up into the headset. I'm like, well, if this is the plan to just kick it to him and let him walk for 20 yards, I don't love that.
Yeah.
It's like that's what we came up with, a low line drive before any coverage gets down there to a guy who just broke Tim Dwight's record. Google Tim Dwight, everybody, if you're too young, if you don't know who that guy was. It's like Niall Kinnick, Tim Dwight, and that's about it in returners.
And I guess I didn't have a good appreciation for his speed until he turned it on right there. That kid can fly. He can absolutely fly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the Lindsay thing, and Burnsy, I think you and I probably talked about it pregame. I was really excited. I was excited for the game, right? I was excited for the game because both teams went in there. They should both be feeling good. It is a rivalry. It is fun. In most of the time, they're pretty competitive, and they come down to a couple of plays here and there. Obviously, this one was even Ferentz. I was listening to the radio on the way out, the postgame show. He said, yeah, I can't say I saw this coming either, right? He assumed it was going to be what most of the games are. He's going to take it. He's going to enjoy it for sure. But I was excited to see how Drake played. I was excited. I thought he played pretty well coming out of the gate at Ohio State. I didn't think the Gophers played poorly at Ohio State. You know what I mean? Like, they obviously got run out of the gym. But I didn't think it was because Drake Lindsay was making a bunch of mistakes. And so my thesis was he looked pretty comfortable there, as comfortable as you can be when there's 100,000. Let's see what happens here. Let's see how he does it. You got to throw the ball against Iowa to win. They, in my opinion, which that might be punted into the ether, to use Ryan Burns' favorite phrase. Basically, the first time they throw it, it's a pick six. And they'll go, that's why we don't throw it. Well, throw better. How about that? So it was disappointing to see him play that poorly. What do we think about that? I know we haven't talked to the coordinators yet this week, Burnsy, but is it just, Iowa's a really tough place to play. They have a tough defense, and he pressed in a couple places that you can't, or what do we make of his struggles?
I think he's a freshman. I think we're lucky that it was 8 games in. I almost think they're lucky that it happened in a game where the entire team also imploded. So as much as it is that Drake had a bad game, the entire team was horrific. I think you look at what Phil Parker has done in his career. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in college football. I think you look at the only game that Indiana has actually looked human this season. It was at Kinnick, and Fernando Mendoza went through it there as well. But I just think it was bound to happen. And I don't think that's obviously some moral failing or that this is something that you can project forward on. I think he gets a nice rebound game coming up this weekend at home against a very zone-heavy Joe Rossi team. I mean, Chip, let me ask you this. I mean, regardless of how it happened, I mean, he missed Javon Tracy over the middle on a timing throw that he normally makes. He forced the ball for the pick six that he normally just throws away. I mean, we can talk about the second most important player on the offense playing 3 snaps and then him being out and the other players, but let's stick to Drake for now. I don't know that there's really anything other than he played horrifically, but does that mean anything going into this weekend?
No, here's the way I look at it. I think when they fell down 10-0 right off the bat, he got antsy.
Yeah.
I think he looked. You saw some of he sailed a couple throws that we haven't really seen him do. He's normally been on target. I think Phil Parker got to him with his scheme. The TV showed a one play where was it Gears that was going to drag across the middle. Both linebackers went with him, and Drake wound up taking a sack there. I think the scheme was good. I mean, obviously they're very well coached. I think that got to him. I think the fact that his offensive line is not very good got to him. I'm sorry, they're just not. I mean,
I got a good quote for you from yesterday on that one.
I think that they had no running game, put even more pressure on him. It felt like he had to make plays, and so I just think he was antsy the whole game. And I think it was the score. I think it was the defense. I think it was being a freshman. I think it was the environment. I think it was all those things. And he had his first bad game. But I know you're going to talk about the offensive line, but I mean, they were getting pressure with 4. And when you can do that, that makes it hard on a quarterback.
I mean, and that's where I said it earlier. Like, it's not like we saw the same 3 running plays of inside zone, mid zone, outside zone. We saw pitches, we saw toss sweeps, I formation downhill, outside zone. And no matter what they tried, if you can't run 6-on-6 in the box, you have no shot. Mm-hmm. There is no scheme in the world that can out personnel there. And so I continue to harp on it, and it just continues to be such a disconnect between what I think I see and what the Gopher football staff sees, and they're the ones that make the decisions at the end of the day, and I'm just a media schmuck. I understand my role, face for radio and all.
Body for podcasting.
Yeah. So I hit Fleck with this. I said, yesterday, when we talked to him, you've talked about before with the offensive line that you think the 5 that's been playing is the best 5. After rewatching the Iowa game, do you still believe that going into Michigan State? He said 3 letters. I do. So we're not getting married. I know a lot of people may try to make that inference. So my follow-up to him, Chip, is, okay, how would you assess what you saw on tape from the offensive line against Iowa? And I'll paraphrase it here. It's I thought they played incredibly hard. We just executed poorly, so we got to get that corrected. I just keep coming back to my favorite quote that's always attributed to Albert Einstein. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I can't see how they watch the game, and specifically the right side of the offensive line, and say, we don't need to change anything. We don't have to throw out Khalid Tafai, the Washington transfer they paid some good money for, who just refuses to see the field. Tony Nelson, the pride of Tracy, Minnesota, stand up. I don't really care who you want to throw in there. I just say we got 2/3 of data, 2/3 of the season of data, and the right side of the O-line is a problem to me. Now, the whole unit overall with physicality, I ain't going to disagree with you, but they just refuse to make it. I don't understand why they just continue to trot the same 5 bodies out. They throw them at different spots, maybe, Chip, but it is fascinating to see the disconnect between us media jackals and what they believe internally.
Well, they see these guys in practice, so it doesn't speak highly of the guys behind them, the backups.
That's the answer. That's not great, right?
It's a problem. Absolutely.
That's the answer, is because you're doing this every week. You're the definition of insanity too, Bertie, because it's still making you mad. It's like, obviously they're aware it's an issue. They've moved pieces around a million places, right? They clearly don't love who they have behind them at this moment. And that's a problem.
And
that's
That's a recruiting problem.
It's the same offensive line coach for all 9 years with that. Yeah.
But it's also a portal identification and acquisition problem, right? Because guys that when you lose Phillip Daniels and then you've got to go out and replace him, they've obviously lost something there, and they haven't found the right people for whatever the reason that is. They've misevaluated. They couldn't afford it. All of that is. I heard somebody was saying, I can't remember which coach it was. It might have been the Tulane coach. This is like a couple of months ago.
Future LSU coach John Summerall. We'll get
to all that. But he made a really good point because, and I don't want to make this an NIL discussion, but it's interesting because this team has stars, right? They have high dollar guys for the Gophers, right? Like Coy Parrish, Anthony Smith, Darius Taylor. They've kept a lot of people. What this coach said was, we don't have a lot of money. So if you're not going to have a lot of money, where do you need to be good in football? You need to be good up front. If you can be good up front, you can mask a lot of different things. You maybe you don't have a great running back or you don't have great speed. And so they need to either find a way to evaluate better, put more money into the offensive line, because Burnsy, I'm sure you can tell me it's expensive out there, right? It's expensive for linemen, and it's only getting more expensive. I guess my point is, it's a long-winded way of this because you can't do anything this year. You can't go trade for Cam Robinson. Like, I think the 5 guys you're going to see right now are the 5 guys you're going to see, and I think that is what it is. But that's something, and I don't know. You can tell me. I know they've got a couple of young guys, obviously, with Roy and Johnson. 2 that are playing well that theoretically are going to be here next year. You can tell me who else they have in the pipeline, because I know that's been kind of an oasis of nothing, right? And that's part of the reason why they're in this spot too. A couple of empty recruiting classes that should be upperclassmen now. That's got to be priority. Besides retaining the guys, that you need to. Priority 1B is investing and finding guys there, right? Because, and I'm sure they have to do it on defense too, even though they have some younger guys that they like. But that's my long-winded way of saying this is who they have, man. Like, they don't have anybody behind them, obviously, or they probably would have tried some stuff.
Yeah, and to your guys' point, it's probably just sunk cost at this point. And we talked about how the most important player on the offense didn't play well. And when he doesn't play well, you need your second best player to pick up the slack. And that's where I want to get us into the Darius Taylor discussion, unfortunately, for yet another game at Iowa, because I'm sure he was having flashbacks to 2023 Iowa, where he got injured, where he gets the first carry, looks to be fine. He hobbles off to the sidelines a little bit. But the last play for Darius was actually the pick 6 where he gets taken to the ground. And we asked Fleck after the game. He didn't give us an update. I asked him again yesterday, said there's no update. I will say this. I don't expect to see Darius Taylor, and I hope to be proven wrong, until the bowl game now. I don't.
Really?
I don't. I mean,
you think it's a re-aggravation?
Whatever the
separate.
Okay. I don't think it's a concussion. So if it is a soft tissue injury, let's talk about the one he already had, where that one took him out 28 days. Well, there's only so many days left in the season, and maybe he comes back for Wisconsin. But we also saw him get injured 2 years ago at Kinnick in mid-October, and then he didn't play until the bowl game. Now, this is all speculation because the head coach refuses to address it. But when Darius Taylor just can't stay healthy this season, which is unfortunate, and I'll remind listeners, as I remind myself, he did play in 13 straight, okay?
Right.
Yes, the start of his career was a copious amount of injuries, and this season has also been cursed. He's only started and finished 3 games. That's it. That's all he's played in terms of start to finish. But, Chip, how do you expect to play well in Kinnick when your quarterback doesn't play well, and then your all Big Ten caliber running back plays 3 snaps and then is standing on the sidelines without his helmet for the last 55 minutes of the game?
Yeah, and it's a problem because how much of the game plan do you build around Darius Taylor too? Not knowing
quite a bit.
Yes.
Not knowing really. I mean, yes, he played last year, but his career has just been marred by injuries, and so not just building a game plan, but building the future when you're, building your roster.
That's where I wanted to take us is, regardless of what happens the rest of this year, what do you do? And we can spend a lot of time this offseason trying to talk about it, but I think it's a worthwhile discussion of what do you do?
In terms of the money?
How do you want to build this running back room? Because I don't know what you do.
Well, they've kind of answered. I mean, they went out and
they go out and take guys.
They got AJ Turner, who's also hurt. Like, we forget running back 2. That was their second running back, right?
Yep.
I mean, and he's done for the season. So what's the name of the podcast?
Yeah,
that's it.
It's Parent a Spare and some air now, and you're at the air with with Cam Davis, and they've thrown in some younger people. Obviously, Femi Ijiboy is going to get some run. Like, he'll theoretically be there next year, but they had the pair for sure with Darius and with AJ Turner, and now they're both hurt again.
Yeah, I mean it's I don't know if you
part
call
of the
it
running game issues, whether people want to talk about it or not.
well, 100%. Like when you're down your top two running backs, of course it is.
It matters.
Yeah, it matters, but it also I would point to the offensive line before it's a combination. It's offensive line, it's injuries, but I looked at it yesterday. I mean, they're averaging 110 yards, 115 yards rushing per game. They're like 119th nationally in rushing. I mean, I don't think that they, when you have Drake Lindsay, I don't think they're going to be, a predominantly running team where they're high up anymore. But you got to be better than what they're getting. I mean, it's Fleck always talks about the complementary football, and we saw it against Nebraska. When they can run the ball, they can. Yep. The game just looks different, and when they don't, yeah. I mean, it's it's unfortunate for Darius. I mean, he didn't want to be hurt, but it's the narrative now.
We talked all offseason, or at least I did with him, or even at Big Ten Media Days, about how if you talk to anyone at the Gopher football complex, the amount of time that Darius was spending in the training room trying to make sure that he knew he played an 11 straight coming into this. Like, he wanted to make that 24 straight, and he had spent a lot of time with the strength staff, the stretching staff, the whoever staff, trying to make sure that he could stay healthy. And it's gone pear-shaped, and it's unfortunate. I know he probably had aspirations of going to the NFL after this season if he was able to stay healthy. Maybe that's still on the docket for him. My advice to him would be come back for another year, but I'm not his agent or loved ones in that regard.
Before we pause and talk a little bit about Michigan State, let's hear from the fourth member of the podcast, my buddy Chad, who's the Iowa fan. And by the way, I was thinking this morning, I think this is a good bit moving forward. If you would like to be the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, we can go all the way through 18th member of the podcast. If you have a team that you follow, that if you're listening to us for more college football discussion, and maybe you're not a huge Gopher fan, but you just want to hear stuff about the Big Ten, or you just like what we do in general, but you have a team, we'll take applications, right? I mean, Chad pretty much just barnstormed his way. He Mark Gronowski in the red zone his way into the end zone to become the fourth member of the podcast. But if you'd like to be Wisconsin or Michigan State or Oregon or Northwestern, please just drop something in the YouTube comments or on any of our social media channels. We're happy to include everybody, because I think I appreciate this. This is Sunday at 10:40 a.m. So he got up early, had his coffee, read the paper, and fired off his production notes. He said, the fourth member of the podcast is going to be brief today. As you know, I despise fans who gloat after wins, and I'm aware that almost anything I could say would come off that way. There's a couple of things he pointed out. He says this might be Iowa's best offensive line since 2009, 2002. If you remember, those are the two Orange Bowl years for Iowa. 2002 was their first Big Ten championship. They're obviously very good. I mean, when their running backs fall, when it's 2nd and 4 all day, which it felt like, you're going to be in pretty good spot. But we've already kind of talked about this, but I like this. Kinnick is where freshman quarterbacks go to die. Someone pointed this out on Blue Sky, a little Blue Sky reference last night, and they're right. This was a tough spot for Lindsay. He's definitely got the potential, but when Taylor went down, that was a big ask from a first-year quarterback in a tough environment against a defense that hunts for turnovers. He also just talked about Gronowski. What more can you ask for? Exactly what this team needs. Danielson pointed out on the broadcast, if he doesn't get hurt against Indiana when Iowa was leading that game, the Hawks probably hold on for the win. He clearly, when that game was in the balance, which was about 7.5 minutes, he definitely made the plays he needed to, right?
Yep. Yeah, he did.
But I thought we shouldn't take away from how well Iowa played.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. They're good. They played better than I thought they would. I thought they were going to play well. We talked about all this. Gronowski, the line, the defense hadn't been the hunting turnovers pick six machine that we've seen years past. That changed third possession. And obviously they had another pick as well. But yeah, they're in the playoff discussion now. They've got the biggest game they've had in a long time, Oregon, in a couple of weeks, right? So that's going to be the game. There's not a lot of good games this weekend in the Big Ten. There's a huge one next weekend, Saturday in Iowa City.
Yeah, if they can take care of business against Oregon, I mean, they do still have USC and Nebraska, so they've got 3 out of the 4 teams still have a pulse. They get Michigan State at home there too, but Iowa's a good football team, and if Iowa can take care of business at home, specifically against Oregon, I think there is a legitimate discussion for them to be had about being a college football playoff team, and that's where it's almost going to be. There's going to be a lot of talk, I think, down the stretch from us and others about Illinois versus Iowa potentially as that 11-12, because Illinois is likely, I mean, Illinois' schedule is absolutely soft as Charmin. And if they go 9-3, and if Iowa can go 3-1 in this stretch, I think they have the better resume and should get in above them.
Illinois is toast. Illinois is out. You can't get run 42-25
no.
in the playoff to Washington. Illinois is toast.
First of all, Washington should be ranked, and I don't know why they're not.
And so should Iowa, by the way.
Iowa should be ranked.
Yeah, they were better than I gave them credit for sure. Their offensive line is really, really good.
And their defensive line was as physical as I've seen all year.
Yeah, and Gronowski's not a great thrower, obviously, but man, is he a dynamic runner. And he is. The guy just finds a way. And the throw to the touchdown, the deep ball, that was a pretty ball. I mean, that was, Nestor was draped all over the guy and he put it right there. I mean, that was a pretty ball, but obviously their defense is really well coached. Phil Parker, just a genius, I think. I mean, the guy's a really good coordinator. And I just think when you're good in the trenches, like you talked about, you're going to give what you just talked about, Guardsy with the Tulane coach. When you're good in the trenches, that good, you're starting from a position of strength, in a game. You're going to give yourself, you don't have to have, elite, a passer or whatever. So they're good. And then obviously that environment, if you're not, that environment's hard. I mean, you could tell. I mean, I thought it rattled Lindsay. I just think I think this, not just the environment, but what was happening around him, the score getting away from him, all these, the defense not able to get off the field. He just looked like a freshman. And
I'll say this: the fans do not take a series off.
Yeah,
there's no load management for the fans right behind the bench, and they play all 4 quarters too now. Even if it's 41-3, they are unrelenting. And for the first time I talked about, it was actually one of the only meaningful sideline hits I had, I thought, in my opinion, because I'd never seen it. Everybody has the top of the benches now because teams. I'm sure, Burnsy, you can tell me. Teams have drones now in outer space that are trying to look down to read the Microsoft Surface tablets.
That's what they believe with their tinfoil hats. Absolutely.
Yes. So every team now has that lid over their bench. The Gophers actually put basically tarps around that opening in the back. I would imagine just to insulate them from what's behind them, which I actually think is not a dumb idea. Didn't matter, obviously. They just went into their cocoon every series and watched another bad play and then went back out onto the field. But it was, they're good. They were outstanding. I just got, the last thing I wanted to say, if we're handing out flowers, credit to Beth Getz 2 years ago for saying, we're not doing this Brian Ferentz thing anymore. You guys know me. I always thought the Brian Ferentz thing was a little bit overblown because the head coach is the head coach and his imprint's all over the team, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a quarterback, as Wisconsin's learning, you don't have a chance, and they didn't have quarterbacks for a series of years, right? That's part of the reason why their offense was so bad. But in her early time as Iowa athletic director, probably the first big decision she made, right? Saying, going up against at that time, a 25-year legendary head coach and saying, we're not doing this anymore, Kirk. Sorry, we're doing something different. And they go out and they get Tim Lester, and it's a good offense now. It's not, the offense of 02 or 09 or even 06 with Drew Tate, but it's not an embarrassment. It's more than competent, and they know who they are. And you can't argue with it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
once it's kind of, I know they kind of meandered during the non-conference, which is also kind of a hallmark of Iowa if you watch them historically. But once they figure out who they are, they just keep hitting that max bet button. Like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
We're going. And I think she deserves a lot of credit for pulling the plug on the nepotism bit and saying, we got to go do something different. Find another guy.
Yeah.
And Tim Lester's obviously very good, and he found a good quarterback for them in Mark Gronowski. So that all starts with an athletic director, having a pair.
Making a hard decision. Making a hard decision. Because, it wasn't just like, Chip Scoggins, we're getting rid of that offense coordinator. We're getting rid of your son who.
Right, your flesh and blood who played here.
Yeah, who played here. Yeah.
And there's a lot of fans that agreed with it immediately, of course.
Well, but for the boss to do that. Yeah, that's right. I tell you what, man. That's going to be a fascinating game with him in Oregon there.
Yes.
That is going to be a big time atmosphere because contrasting styles.
2 time zones, baby.
And a lot of playoff implications. I mean,
huge.
That's going to be.
This is what you want.
That's going to be
Get
fun.
to November and figure it out.
Huge.
Do we get to talk after the break about Narrative Street with Joe Rossi coming back?
Yes, we're going to get to Narrative Street.
Yes,
Here we go.
Come on.
All right, come on.
I'm like Mark Gronowski, okay? I know where the ball needs to go, okay? It might have taken me 40 minutes to get it there. I know where the ball needs to go, Burnsy, okay?
Well, it's a good thing your offensive line can protect you with Chip.
Yeah, just give it a second, okay? Just wait for your Narrative Street. And this is a legit narrative, unlike some of the others that you've tried to force feed on this pod. But let's talk about Jack's Cafe, our great partners, our amazing partners. They once again have delivered their tickets for the Michigan State game this Saturday, pair of tickets to the game. We appreciate that. So stay tuned on how we're going to give those away on the social media channels a little bit later this week. But it is, my kids just asked me the other day, how come we haven't been to Jack's in a while? And I said, well, when you stop having sports activities from sun up to sundown every weekend, then maybe we'll find a time where we can go have the best brunch in the Twin Cities. And sorry that we missed patio season because of your football and your hockey and your lacrosse and your swimming and your basketball and everything that we did. I'm sure dozens and hundreds of people and perhaps thousands this fall have enjoyed the best patio in the Twin Cities with some of the best food and the best service and the best ambiance and just a first-class experience every step of the way. When you've been around since the 1930s, you're doing something right. Might even be longer than that. I should have Googled it. I should know it off the top of my head now. But generation after generation after generation of people have gone to Jack's Cafe for brunch, for lunch, for happy hour, for dinner, for corporate parties, for holiday gatherings, for family stuff. It's just a magical place, Burnsy. We love Jack's Cafe.
We do. I got a reservation coming up there in a couple weeks. Cannot wait to get into some pan.
I envy you. You're like a 3 times a month Jack's Cafe guy. I really envy you in that regard.
Some of us want to actually support those who support us.
We support them.
All right. Well, I know myself, our listeners, you both do. We're going to try to get Chip there for the Hunter's dinner, which is coming up here.
Ooh.
I mean,
it's a little different than when you just have to make sure your cats have food, and then you can just go to Jack's, Burnsy. All right, it's a little bit different around here. Okay, we're fighting different battles. Don't be throwing shade.
You know what I was thinking about the other day? Remember the first time we went there with Bill? We had that steak salad.
Steak salad, of course. I think about it almost every week.
That thing was outstanding. That should be that's my recommendation this week. I can't remember the name of the thing, but it was just a steak salad. It was so good. I mean, it's outstanding. And of course, my favorite dessert, creme brulee, best creme brulee in the state, in this market by far. If you go have dinner there, save room for the creme brulee because you won't be disappointed.
All right. Support those that support us, as we always say. They've got the Hunter's Dinner coming up. You can learn about that at jackscafe.com. You have to call for reservations there, jaxcafe.com. But an unbelievable menu for that. Take a look at it there on the website and make your reservations at jackscafe.com. How surprised are we about the fortunes of this week's opponent, the Michigan State Spartans? Jonathan Smith, we're going to talk about the coaching carousel here in a little bit. But when he was hired away from Oregon State, that was seen as a really big-time, nice get hire when they're coming off of the Tucker madness from a few years ago, the Mel Tucker deal, trying to clean that whole thing up. That was a good hire on paper, Jonathan Smith, the guy that's won. And as Burnsy will tell us, they have a lot of money at Michigan State. They are well-financed and well-heeled, so much so that they can say when Jonathan Smith gets the job, you know who I want to get? Joe Rossi, the defensive coordinator at a conference rival, Minnesota, and I'm going to basically not double his pay, but not too far off, give him $1.5 million a year. He's going to move the family to Lansing, and we're going to laugh all the way to a playoff berth or something, and maybe in year 2 or year 3. Has not gone that way, Burnsy. What's going on in East Lansing?
Yeah, that's been a culmination of things. They're also a very banged-up team, and that's one of the storylines for this weekend is, too, Minnesota's going to be playing in their 6th consecutive game, and Michigan State is going to be playing in their 5th. I think that plays a part in why the game total for this one is so low. I think it's like low 40s, but they've got a quarterback for Michigan State in Aiden Childs who has just been – he is the most hot and cold quarterback in the Big Ten, and he has some absolutely backbreaking turnovers. Michigan State's defense has been put in some horrendous spots because of his turnovers, whether that's with his arm or whether that's fumbles. I believe he's got 7 fumbles already this season. And Rossi's defense has been banged up. They do have some skill position players that are good, but they're just – you look at the point totals that they've been giving up, 45, 38, 38, 38, 31. Well, unfortunately for Minnesota, Michigan ran for 270 yards last week. I don't think this Gopher offensive line is going to allow them to run for 270 yards.
And Darius Taylor might not play.
Yeah, especially without Darius Taylor's status being known. But there's 2 things for me in this game. It's takeaways, where that's part of the road struggles, is Minnesota in 12 quarters on the road has 0 defensive takeaways. One of my favorite stats to talk about is on the offense's last 103 drives. They have 4 drives of 103, their last 103, that have started within an opponent's 45-yard line. So essentially 4% of drives, you've given them the ball in field goal range. And the other 96, they got to go. They got to go goal to go. So you got to turn over Aiden Childs a couple of times. Drake has been much better at home than he has been on the road. I think you're going to see a very zone-heavy defense, but Joe Rossi's return to Huntington Bank Stadium, Chipper.
Yeah, go back to the hire 2 years ago. I think we all said, man, that's a home run hire for them. That program's going to get turned around and be good because they have the infrastructure. You got the money, they got facilities, they got all those things that you need, and
they got that Rocket Mortgage money.
They got that Rocket Mortgage, money. So that part's not a problem. And yeah, I think we all are. I'm a big fan of Joe Rossi as a person and as a coach. I mean, just a class dude.
Yep.
I think he's a smart defensive coach. It is funny, I was just looking at their one of the worst scoring defenses in college football at 32 points a game. It's like Joe Rossi's not a bad coach. Circumstances, whether it's Child's turnovers, whether it's injuries, whether they just haven't played it, he's not a bad coach. We know that. Joe Rossi is a very good defensive coach. So I don't know, what all is going into happening inside their locker room to make that a bad defense right now. But this is a game you have to win. I mean, it's absolutely a game you have to win at home.
Yep.
4.5-point favorites, I think, is what it opened at. I don't know if the line has moved. Burnsy is the Chauncey Billups of the show, down to -3. So it's you like that chip? Yeah, didn't mean make you spit out your water there. But yeah, when we looked at the home schedule, what's been so interesting about this season is we looked at the home schedule and said we were talking about this in May. This is a major opportunity to run the table at home, and Nebraska was probably the one big swing game, we thought, right? Yeah. I know Rutgers we thought was probably a swing. They win that one. Purdue was supposed to be a gimme. It was a little bit of a grind, as we remember. Wisconsin, it appears, should be a layup. Now their defense is pretty salty. We might talk about that at the end of the day. But this one I thought was also going to be going into the week, and now the point spread's not crazy, but going into the week saying this is more of a toss-up. The way the season is played out, this is more of a necessity, especially because you haven't won on the road yet. And those games, at least one of them, Oregon looks like it always has. It's going to be tough. The Northwestern one at Wrigley looks a lot trickier than we would have thought 6 weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting to see how they finish this season with this schedule, because there's a legit path to 8-4, and it's a interesting 8-4 in that the Iowa thing could mar the whole deal, how everybody feels about it. 8-4, if we said that in August, we would have said you take that every step of the way. And now you see it as it's playing out. That kind of feels like you got to get 8-4 out of the schedule, given what happened with Iowa.
Yeah, I said 8-4. That was my prediction before the season. I still think that's where they'll wind up, as bad as things have been. But yeah, when you get, Ohio State's going to
we're in Iowa
as best. Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's going to blow a lot of teams out. I mean, you'd like to be a little more competitive than they were, but okay, you got blown off the field by the best team in college football. Saturday was inexplicable in terms of just how uncompetitive that was. So yeah, this is, with Michigan State struggled, this is a game you have to come back. You have to, you have to shore up some things, and you just have to. These games, I thought they're in this stretch of home games. I picked them to lose to Nebraska before the season. Obviously, they took care of that, but this is one I felt like, not knowing really what Michigan State was going to do in year 2 of this regime, I thought they might be a little better. Obviously, that hasn't materialized, but this is a game you absolutely need to win at home.
And that's where, for the first time, I think in his, I don't know, going how far back, but Rossi was coaching on the sidelines last week. That was one of the changes that Jonathan Smith wanted to implement, because the defense has been so bad, is he moved Rossi down to call games from the sidelines so that in between series, he can be the one doing the coaching up and not via the headset. So that's how pear-shaped things are going there. And it again, they've been banged up. It is what it is. But in what is going to be, I think the high temperature on Saturday is going to be like 44. So it's cold, but it's not like Wisconsin 20.
The sideline reporter doesn't like hearing it.
Yeah, dress accordingly. Hey, what am I going to tell you? The Midwest.
It's November, man.
I know. No such thing as bad weather. There's bad clothing.
And I'm staring. You can't see it because it's in my closet here downstairs in my guest room / office / where my stuff gets to live in my house. Is all of the heated jackets and all of that. I was dialed for Iowa City, man. I had the wool socks, the long underwear. I had the
hat. Warmers. We saw that.
I had the hat. Yep, if I needed that.
So anyway, I gotta pause here. You got some serious FaceTime there at halftime after PJ did his TV thing, and were you guys like marching through the band coming on the field? That was tricky to try to get a interview while the band, like the tubers, are coming by and banging into you.
Yeah, people think that you just get to stand there and grab a rum runner and talk with the head coach. There's conditions down there. The things have to move. Things move. We've only been Jerry Kill and I almost got trampled in Nebraska. That was the closest that we ever came to some type of.
You came close Saturday.
Yeah, but we know where we're going. I've got good vision, Chipper. All right, I know where the tunnel is.
Head on a swivel, baby.
I know where I'm trying to go.
Well, Chip, you forget you got a Big Ten athlete in Guardsy.
That's right.
You have what was a very good
former
Northern
NFL player.
Illinois athlete in PJ Fleck. High-level athletes know how to navigate pressure. All right.
Band's marching on. You guys are going. It's like swimming upstream with the band.
And no, I didn't. Was there a band there? I didn't even realize that. I just knew where I needed to go.
That's right.
Now, what a
locked in.
Those are
you block out the noise, man. You blocked out the noise. Not
that anybody cares, but when we go second, and also, by the way, it was an interesting choice by CBS to talk to the coach that's losing 31-0. That usually doesn't happen.
I think that's in advance, though, right? Don't they say in advance who they're going?
No, not really.
Really?
Sometimes it's usually winning or tied. They're going to talk to the winning head coach going in.
Okay.
Usually. So it was surprising, I think, to everybody,
including PJ.
Including PJ. You kind of figure it out on the field, say, what's the deal? The TV wants them on camera, or sometimes TV wants them not off camera. We call it this is really inside baseball, but we call it in Iowa City, actually, if they want them, it just who goes first, radio or TV. Yeah. And if I'm second, well, first of all, if TV wants them on camera, I'm always second. If TV wants them off camera, we can still go first. And because there's no urgency. So let's just get to it. And we call that the Feldman rule, because one time when the Gophers were in Iowa City. I can't remember which year. It was a Fox game. Bruce Feldman was the sideline reporter, and they wanted him for a walk and talk. And so I said, okay, and I got to sit there and watch as PJ and Bruce Feldman walked and talked all the way up the tunnel away from me.
Oh no.
And so we didn't have him, which is the only thing that can't happen.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he can be mad at me. The equipment can go wrong. I can ask a stupid question. He can be mad at me about that, whatever. And PJ's rarely done any of those things. Same with Jerry. I've been very lucky. But I'm just standing there watching Feldman and PJ just chat like old friends, like, all right, well, we're going to have to make some changes on this.
Oh, my gosh.
Now we call it the Feldman. We say they're going to do a Feldman. I said, all right, radio first. But whenever they have him on camera and I'm second, I always know that my phone is going to explode within 30 seconds of me being done.
And that was me. That was
you. That was my high school buddies. That was, shout out Allie Lucia, our old friend, the daughter of the old hockey coach Don, who former sideline reporter in her own right. Got a text from her. It's very funny, but I know it's always coming. I didn't know they were going to literally trail us the whole way.
They did. You got some serious TV time on that one.
Usually it's just like one cutoff, and I'm like this,
Yeah.
Very ready to go, locked in, got my mic. I'm ready for my 2 questions with PJ. Let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, they took a walk with us.
How was the head coach on that interview? I didn't hear it.
That's another thing. When it's that bad, he's not going to be that mad, right?
Yeah.
He just says that was as bad a half of football as we can possibly have. Everything that went wrong can go wrong.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah.
And PJ's always like, we've never had one of those quit asking Nick Saban moments or any of the, like, he does a good job with all of that. He always presents well. And I never, even when it's really bad, or if he's getting booed off the field because 3 years ago they run 3 plays from the 27-yard line to kick a field goal and everybody's pissed. And I know I got to say, take us in the strategy of that, coach. He's always going to be fine. Like, very rare. Every once in a while, it's funny to me. It's funny when he's mad at the officials and he just got done screaming. Colorado a few years ago on the road, he was so mad about something and he just lost his mind. Those are, I mean. Most of them are not memorable, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's okay when there's a memorable one.
The most memorable ones, we got to get some fire in our asses, dude.
Bill Miller. That was my very first halftime interview with the old linebackers coach, Bill Miller, USC, 2011. All right, you got to go, but when do you need to go?
We can talk for a minute. Yeah, we can talk for 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Mr. Projects has another hard out, so we're under the gun here. We've gone an hour.
Sorry.
We do have to talk about the coaching carousel because it is going to be insanity. And Brian Kelly just got let go. It sounds like the governor of Louisiana was involved because he always is. I think you have to get
because why not?
Well, it's like 100-year. I listened to Ross Dellinger on Sirius the other day talk about it. Like, it's basically been tradition, and LSU is like the thing in the state of Louisiana, right? It's their biggest sort of pride. And I think it's cool if you're a Louisiana high school student and you want to go to LSU, you go for free. The state just pays for it, which I never knew before, right?
Wow.
So, like, our friend Hobie Artigue from Fox 9 did that. Tatum Everett, Vikings Entertainment Network, did that. Like, they're all about LSU. By the way, great idea. Yeah. Great deal, because people have a lot of pride to go there and be there and go Tigers with the weird spelling. And so Brian Kelly gets fired. We can talk about that for a minute, but you just look at the jobs that are open, and you're looking at LSU, Penn State, Florida, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Arkansas, yeah. Stanford. Who am I missing here? UCLA. Just go down the list. A lot of Power 4 jobs and a couple of blue blood jobs.
Yeah.
So we lamented last week, and we can again today, about these ridiculous coaching buyouts. This situation isn't going to help that.
No.
Because every single coach that's had any modicum of success, and by the way, I include PJ in this one again because he's going to be one of these names for some of these dominoes, because once these dominoes are falling and there's not enough coaches to go around, these buyouts are not going to. This isn't going to be the cycle where athletic directors go, you guys are making a good point about buyouts. You need to be careful about those. We just saw the answer with Kirk Cignetti and his monster deal.
Fully guaranteed.
Yeah. So what do we think?
Yeah.
You. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've seen time and time again, fit matters in coaching hires. Brian Kelly was a bad fit at LSU. I mean, from the fake
trying to adopt the Southern drawl,
from the fake accent on
I
it, just
pulled it off.
Yeah. It's funny. We watched that game, my wife and I told her he's getting fired tomorrow. I've covered games where you can tell it's the point of no return. I covered it with Brad Childress. I've covered it with other coaches where it's just you get a vibe. You're like, this cannot continue. And every time they pan to the sideline, Brian Kelly was like in the ear of an assistant coach, like sternly talking to him. It's like you could just tell the way that was going, the way the fans were booing, the way that was being managed, that was the point of no return. He was done. Like buyout, forget. It used to be the discussion of, well, this buyout's going to save him. How many times we talk about that with Kirk Ferentz? Well, when he was having some tough times, I mean, like every year, it's like, well, he's got this buyout. In today's college football, and we'll see if it's that way in basketball, the buyouts are irrelevant. They're not worried about buyouts. If I think because they have this TV money now and all this other money coming in, private equity money. I think they're saying if we have a problem, we're just going to bite the bullet and pay $50, $60, $70 million. So when you start ranking these things, I mean, obviously, I think that the first domino is what does Lane Kiffin do? He's going to be the number one on everybody's list.
Yes. You know him a little bit. What do we think?
Yeah, he's been there since 2020. This is his fifth year, I believe. 2020, he went there. He was definitely a guy who jumped from program to program early on. He's matured, gotten older.
Loves hot yoga.
I don't know that Ole Miss is going to be able to keep him, though, because one of these schools is going to pay him just ridiculous amount of money. But I think he's the one that starts the dominoes to fall. Is it Florida? Is it LSU? I don't think Penn State. I think he'll stay in the South. My hunch is either Florida or LSU, one of those two.
Let me ask you this. Why can't Ole Miss keep him?
Well, they have money, too. They're SEC. But are you saying that Ole Miss is the same as Florida? I don't know. Is it the same as LSU when you talk about all the
LSU? No, it's not. LSU can clearly do whatever it wants.
And the thing about LSU is, like, you look at it, that was the great stat that before Kelly, the three previous coaches had won national titles.
Yes.
So that is
and also all got fired.
So there's pressure there. I don't know. Maybe he stays at LSU. I mean, heck, it stays at Ole Miss. Look what they're doing. I mean, they're seventh in the country. He's got it rolling. They're getting good recruits. You're in the South. Yep. He's obviously comfortable. They obviously have money, But is it just, okay, I've been here 5 years, I want to try something different? The Florida, as bad as they've been, it's Florida, man. And the recruiting base there, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure I don't think it's a slam dunk, but I think one of these schools is just going to absolutely come up with a monster deal to get him.
Do you want to guess how much buyout money? Now, we don't know the specifics of what Brian Kelly and LSU negotiated it down to. Same with James Franklin. But for the purposes of this hypothetical discussion, let's say it's anywhere near the full buyout, okay? Do you know how much buyout money will be paid out already from the coaches that have been fired, and it's not even in November?
Well, Franklin and Kelly was about 53, right? So
$150 million?
$169 million if those are full buyouts. Now, we know that hypothetically they're not, but that's my point is there's still $100 million plus in buyouts that have been paid out. And
it is a waste.
We're not even talking about like Mike Norvell at Florida State, Jonathan Smith, the Michigan State coach, Hugh Freeze at Auburn, Belichick, Bickle.
Yeah.
Like, this is a horrific year. And this is the part that no one's going to want to talk about until it happens. But if Fleck were to leave, this would be a horrific year to try and replace him, because the supply of good coaches to the demand of every single team, like Minnesota in that instance, is not. We've talked about the teams that are looking for a coach. This is not a good year to try and go find a coach, because you're going to have to overpay. And I just don't think that you'd get the quality that you're going to be paying for.
How many of these fired coaches do you think will get rehired right away?
Franklin, if he wants.
I think fewer than you think, though, because why we see it every year. It's you get fired and then everybody takes a year off to kind of recharge, go be with their families.
But
I
there's
don't
so many
know if
good
they wanna
jobs now.
jump back
Their
into it,
families.
Their families. Yeah.
but this is the year to, if you're not going to take a year off, you're going to be in demand because there's just so many job openings.
Yeah, that's why I wondered, because there's so many jobs that these guys are going to get recycled, somewhere else.
It's a
What do you rank the jobs? What do you think? To me, I would probably say Florida 1, LSU, Penn State.
I got
No,
one.
LSU's one.
LSU's 1, and I think Penn State's 2, and then I got Florida 3.
Yeah, Florida. You got to remember. I mean, Florida is like Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. In between and before, not much.
It should be.
Yeah, but I mean, you even look at Florida State's struggles and Miami's struggle. Like everybody says, these jobs should just be slam dunks. Like, yes, because of proximity to players. Yes, theoretically, but you still. I don't know if I put them up in over a historical thing like Penn State or LSU. I mean, LSU's like you just said.
Yeah.
It. You used to be, you signed up at LSU, you were getting a national championship.
Yeah.
Because in-state recruiting there, from what I'm told, and I've heard former Tigers talk about this, there's no worry about shutting down the borders. If you want a kid from LSU, you're going, because they all grew up wanting to be the next. Go down the list: Justin Jefferson, Ryan Clark, whoever. Right? It's a great job.
So you'd put Penn State ahead of either one of those, even though they're recruiting territory?
No, I'd put LSU 1, and I'd put Penn State 2.
Ahead of Florida?
Its own tier at 2, too.
What's that?
I think Penn State is in their own tier at number 2. I don't think they're in the same tier as Florida. I think we're underestimating the amount of financial resources that Penn State actually has. Like, there's a reason that they're able to get out from underneath this buyout and still probably go get whoever they want, money considered.
Those are the top 3, and then it's
for sure. Yeah, those are 3 for sure.
It gets a lot more.
Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Arkansas, Stanford.
You still got Stanford somewhere in this mix too, because they got to hire. They've had an interim all year, and they've talked about it. I don't remember if I mentioned even like Mark Stoops in Kentucky. He's certainly on the hot seat too?
Right.
There's so many other dominoes that have left to be pushed over it, to where you said it when you opened with it, Guardsy. I mean, this is a once in a decade type of coaching carousel, the way this thing is shaping up. And I expect things to get wild.
There's going to be a lot of extensions.
Yeah.
I heard this morning Rick Neuheisel say, how many SEC jobs are open? Like 3. Or there could be. He said there's going to be 7 to 10 coaches that get extensions out of this.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. But it's
in the league.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the buyouts, but it's like,
look, selfishly as media guys, I can't wait to come on here weekly in December and talk with both of you about it, because it is going to be fascinating to see some of these coaches who hop. And I will remind people, Big Ten, I think it was back in 1972. Was the last time a sitting Big Ten head football coach left for a different Big Ten institution. I forget the guy's name. I think he went from.
Yeah, we talked about it. I've already forgotten it.
Yeah. It's because
it was like Indiana to something. It wasn't memorable.
Indiana to Purdue or Indiana Northwestern, something like that. But it's been over 50 years. But I expect that to finally break this year if something were to happen with some of these jobs.
Well, here's my advice to the Gophers and to Mark Coyle and PJ Fleck. I would handle business against Michigan State pretty decisively, because if history is any indication,
second bye week
is a time where things like to get tightened up and they like to get ahead of things. And Mark even said, I think it was after Penn State fired James Franklin, I talked to him on the pregame show about, what do you make of all these buyouts and how do you get yourself in this situation? And I'm not asking you to speak on their business, but what do you see? And the phrase he used in describing it was, well, if you look back, we've extended PJ every 18 months or so. So that's kind of been our timeline. We've kind of just done it every year and a half with different escalators and different things for the salary. I mean, when was that UCLA extension? January or February of 2024?
Oh, he had one this offseason, didn't he?
This offseason, right? Yeah, I think right before this.
It was a It was like February, March timeframe where his buyout is north of $30 million if Minnesota were to fire him. And if someone were to come get him, I believe it's $5.5 million.
I remember it made news at the time. It was,
I
was,
remember talking about it. Yeah, we talked about it.
So I missed an extension. Yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh, they're gonna.
It happened. So I mean, it's kind of just
that'll be fun.
part of business where they.
I just got so used to it. I must have just.
That's it. Yeah, it just happens. Me. Yeah.
So yeah, salary $6 million. That stayed the same. That's right. They added like a retention bonus that increased, and they added an extra year.
I was reading a thing this morning, and it is interesting, is that because these playoffs go so long now, and I was reading Dan Wetzel he did a piece on Lane Kiffin. Well, if Ole Miss gets on a roll, I mean, they may be playing into mid-January.
Good point.
Like, is LSU going to wait till mid-January? Is another school going to wait till mid-January? Now they could have behind the scenes, hey, I'm going to take it, but boy, that's a
remind people, National Signing Day is still the first Wednesday of December, which may the Lord bless and keep these high school kids with what's upcoming here. I don't know what to tell them.
And what's the portal window?
There, yes, you can sign and then hit the portal, but this thing starting December, starting the Sunday after the regular season, boy, oh boy, is this thing going to start to really pick up speed.
And when does that portal open, Burnsy? The
portal opens second week of January.
Mid-January.
Okay.
And there's only one portal window this year.
So that factors into
portal. So that portal window is going to be hot. Like that 45 to 60 day stretch, December 1 until say January 31st. Keep your head in a swivel.
But if you say Lane Kiffin's our guy and we don't really care about this year's portal, we're willing to, sacrifice that, then we'll just you do it, right?
If you're surprised if that's their approach, considering everybody wants to be Kurt Cignetti, because everybody we hear it from fans all the time. Well, Cignetti did it. Cignetti is the exception. He is not the rule. Like for most programs, you're going to need a couple years to turn this thing. I mean, we're even seeing what Matt Rule is doing at Nebraska now. They don't play Minnesota well, but they're now 6-2. So for most programs, it's going to take a couple of years. I just have a hard time believing LSU is going to say, let's punt. Or they're just going to have to throw, 8 figures into the portal recruiting and just go buy everybody's best players.
Which, by the way, they already did.
Sure.
Yeah.
They were, the number I heard was $13 to $15 million in NIL.
Well, that's what did Brian Kelly say? I thought he said $18 million, right?
It might have been
on
more,
the roster.
Yeah.
Well, you still think Matt Rule at Penn State?
I still think that is, if you're asking me today.
Oh, man.
I still think that's the odds-on favorite is Matt Rule going to Penn State.
That would be tough. That would be tough for Nebraska.
Because I think Clark Lee goes somewhere from Vanderbilt. I also, the name I've also seen for Penn State and LSU is Joe Brady.
Yep.
The coordinator.
Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator.
Yeah, offensive coordinator. Yeah.
He was the architect behind Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
LSU.
Greatest offense ever.
If he wants to get into the college game, this thing is just so crazy.
Yeah, don't sleep on coordinators. I know everybody
that's what I was wondering.
Head coach, but Dan Lanning wasn't a head coach before he went to Oregon, right?
Yeah.
That dude's pretty good. Like, it's different now. I do think there is value to being a head coach and running a program and knowing how all of that goes, but even for these big jobs, I don't think that's a requirement anymore. I just think these young guys know what they're doing. They know how the game's played. It's so much more transactional, and let's just get the best players and let's go. I get it. Like, it makes sense if you've, the old way where you won a couple of MAC titles or you were good in the Sun Belt and now you've worked your way up. Like, no, man, these kids are ready to go. These 35-year-olds are ready to go. They've learned, they're ready, they're hungry. They know how to do the booster stuff. I mean, can you imagine passing on Dan Lanning because he didn't have any head coaching experience?
Yeah,
like
I know
that would be silly to me.
Yeah, there's always that fear though if it doesn't work out and you're like, wow, you took a flyer on a young guy who wasn't ready,
Yeah.
But if you have conviction about the guy in your soul, you can't live in fear in that, So it will be interesting to see if there's any NFL coordinators trickle down.
There's not enough college names to fill all the college. Like, there's going to be some very unconventional hires just because there's not enough good coaches to fill all these voids. And the amount of leverage that if you are having a decent year at the college level and you're a head coach or a rising coordinator, you couldn't have picked a better year, because you're going to either get overpaid by your school or you're going to get overpaid by a school who wants to come get you.
Lastly on this, has there been a worse run for an athletic director than Scott Woodward at LSU? He is responsible for hiring Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M and having to pay him, what was it, $75 million?
Was it? No, it was 90.
90? Yeah, you're right. And now he's responsible. Like his last two hires have cost $160 million to fire, and they got nothing good for it. Like,
and he still has a job, this athletic director does.
I know, and I'm anti-search firm. I think that, if you're an athletic director, if we're paying you $1 million plus, why do we need to outsource this thing? Like, what? That's what I appreciate about Mark. He's not, and now he's smart because his predecessor did search firms, and we know how that didn't work. But that's what is amazing. It's like we're paying, because in all honesty, the most important thing an athletic director does is hire a coach, right?
Yes.
That's what the money's for. And obviously fundraising and stuff, and all these other things. But in your main sports, that's your job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll say, though, if I'm LSU and I'm their board of trustees and their governor, I'm looking at Scott Woodward and his track record and going, can we get a second opinion? I know you like this, but can we get a second opinion? This might be
my sure about this guy?
My one amendment to the search firm rule is if your last two hires have cost the respective schools $160 million to fire them, you might want to sit this one out, or at least get some extra counsel.
Get a second opinion. I know.
It's ridiculous. That is a mythic run. How will that run ever? That is a mythic run of negativity. I can't even believe it.
But
I
it's
can't even believe it.
You hired the Notre Dame coach. You thought, hey, we're getting a big time hire, and that's where I go back to fit matters. Fit matters, and Brian Kelly never fit. There. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. All right. Anything else we need to talk about? Another fun episode, I thought. I thought we got as much out of a 41-3 loss as we possibly could.
That's right.
And we didn't exactly have the best ingredients for a show today. Reminder, if you want to be the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th member of the podcast and be the unofficial correspondent for your favorite team, like my buddy Chad is for Iowa as the 4th member, please drop something in the YouTube comments, tweet at any one of us. You can email me, jg@kfan.com, whatever you want. We'll take all comers. We love to have correspondence. We can't watch it all.
We're a very inclusive podcast here.
Yeah, we try to be. Please go to jackscafe.com. Check out the Hunter's Dinner. Check out reservations for brunch, for lunch, for dinner, for a date night. Holiday season is right around the corner. You've got Thanksgiving coming up, obviously Christmas, the whole bit. It's a great place to have a holiday gathering for your family, or your company, whatever it may be. And we will talk to you next week on the Pair and a Spare podcast.